Oh yes indeed, friends. It's time for my favourite portion of the week. It's Friday, and you know what that means. It means it's time for Wrestlers of the Week. Let's take a look at all of the Wrestlers of the Week. There's been some excellent matches, and last week everyone was like, why didn't you put those dudes in Wrestlers of the Week? Because it took place last Friday. We're going to talk about it this Friday, because that's Wrestlers of the Week. If it happens last Friday, I can't mind read and tell the future and then stick them in Wrestlers of the Week while I'm recording as it goes on. So I've kept that in the back of my little brain box. I've carried it through, and we're going to talk about that excellent New Japan show this week. We're also going to talk about Backlash. To be honest with you, not too many guys from Backlash are on this episode of Wrestlers of the Week. And there's a few other things as well. There's some lovely indie wrestlers. There's, I think, an NXT face showing up here and there. And yeah, it should be pretty good. It's been a particularly strong week in terms of wrestling quality, I must say. Apart from Backlash. First of all, as always, some honourable mentions. I've got 4 to talk about this week. The first 2 are Buddy Murphy and Mustafa Ali, 2 men who I thought, when I saw their match, would absolutely be on Wrestlers of the Week. But it's just been so strong a week that I just couldn't include them. They had a really good match on 205 Live, as they have numerous times throughout the year already. They've picked up a good number of points each in the Wrestlers of the Week League Tabella, but they couldn't make it this time. But honourable mentions richly deserved for both Ali and Buddy Murphy. Also want to give a shout out to Tony Storm and Tennille Dashwood. Tennille Dashwood, formerly known of course as Emma in WWE, who had a main event match in WXW in Germany and proved that women's wrestling can put on just as big a match as men's wrestling in an international, maybe an unfamiliar market, and they did really well, and it got a big crowd reaction as well. Despite an excellent match they had to follow, their match still didn't disappoint. So well done, Tony Storm, well done, Tennille Dashwood, and there's no more honourable mentions that I can think of off the top of my head. I would like to apologise though for forgetting to mention Simon Miller last time around, because he made his pro wrestling debut in the Defiant Rumble, and did really well, and he's my friend and I'm proud of him, and I forgot to mention him. Simon, I'm so sorry. Please don't crush me with your massive body, massive arms, massive hands. Lovely guy. Straight in then at number 10, a man who has only appeared on Wrestlers of the Week once, but somehow has 19 points. How can that be, Jack? How can that be? Because it happened during WrestleMania when double points were in effect. That's right. I'm talking about Tommaso Ciampa, who picks up 1 point this week to move to 20 points overall. He is the best heel in the business right now, isn't he? It's between him and Cody Rhodes, I think. But Ciampa is just on another level of hatred. He had a main event match on NXT TV this week, NXT on the network this week, the episodic NXT series this week, against Cassius Ohno, formerly known, of course, as Christopher Hero. Makes him sound so much more formal there. Hello, my name's Christopher Hero. I'll just take down your details. But everything about Ciampa has been perfectly engineered to make him a wonderful villain in a wrestling sense. He came out to no music, and you could hear everyone go, "You suck, Ciampa," in a really American way. It was wonderful, because if that happened in Britain, you know that the crowd would swear at him or do like that or something. But in America, they go, "No, you suck." It was very PG and very appropriate. He came out to no music. He had a big black eye. It looked fantastic. He wrestled a really good match against Ohno, who for his part, I should have given him an honourable mention, because Ohno did a really good job of being like the righteous friend of Johnny Gargano, stepping up in his friend's honour almost, and beating down Ciampa for the majority of the match before Ciampa came back with some vicious knee strikes. Knees! I've hurt my own leg there. Ooh. Ciampa won the match, and I'm just very excited to see what happens next. Obviously, the feud between himself and Johnny Gargano isn't quite over yet, and I just cannot wait. I cannot wait for their eventual rematch. Number 9, a newcomer to the list, Charlie Morgan. If you're unfamiliar with Charlie Morgan, she's an independent women's wrestler, and she had a wonderful main event match at Pro Wrestling Eve for the Pro Wrestling Eve Championship in London recently. She defeated Sami Zayn to take the championship and become the new big babyface champion. It seemed, I'm not too familiar with the background of the promotion, but it seemed from the crowd response like this was a title change that everyone had been waiting for a hell of a long time. During the match as well, Charlie Morgan did something which is always going to get noticed on Wrestlers of the Week, because I'm an indie little smarky bastard at heart. She got up on the balcony and did a bloody big dive off the balcony into the arena. Oh, it's so good. It was so good. She even said "suck it" before she did so, which is extra points even. I was about to give her Wrestler of the Week, no. But it was still a very good match. I think she's fully deserving of her 9th place this week, and her 2 points as well. And look out for her in a variety of other indie promotions as well. She rocks up in Progress sometimes as a heel, but this was her big babyface party. She won the match. She was hoisted on everyone's shoulders afterwards, and I was just really impressed. A wrestler I'm not too familiar with, but she certainly did enough to make it on the Wrestlers of the Week, and I enjoy it when that happens. I enjoy learning about new wrestlers, you know? It's always a great laugh. Ha ha ha. Number 8, a man who I could have sworn was on this list already, but he's actually not. This is his first time on the list. It's the man known as Kushina. You have to shout his name due to the capital. His name's stylized in all capital letters, which I believe means that you have to shout Kushina whenever you say it. So he had a wonderful match against Will Osprey for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Kushina, of course, is the... I can't get this up for the whole thing. I'm starting to get out of breath. Kushina is the former ace of the division, and I saw this match as a bit of a passing of the torch ceremony, and it seems like Osprey is now the new ace. Both men did really well in the match. Kushina had a really good sequence of, he worked the arm a lot looking for the hoverboard lock. I'm really struggling here. He did a really good job. Well done, Kushina, you are awesome, and 3 points for you in the bag. Well, can't say his name again. Well done, Kushina. Oh. Number 7, Will Osprey. I'm glad we don't have to talk about that other guy anymore, the Japanese guy, because this was, as I mentioned, a very good passing of the torch sort of match. Osprey won and debuted his new finisher as well, the Stormbreaker, which is different from the Oscutter. It's more of a power move, it's more of a slam. He picks them up on his shoulders, kind of spins them around, drives them into the canvas. If you see it, you'll understand it 10 times better than I just described it there. But anyway, it was another fantastic performance from Osprey, who is, of course, on the roll of his life right now. There was an excellent, Kushina did a Hurricane Rana, but the impressive thing about the move was Osprey's sell. He leapt into it. He sort of defied physics almost to sell that Hurricane Rana. It was very, very impressive. And I just want to take a second now to talk about the future of this list, because Best of the Super Juniors is this month. That's the New Japan tournament, obviously involving all of the junior heavyweight division in a wonderful series of singles matches. Always turns out some really good bouts. Could this be the few weeks when Osprey wins Wrestlers of the Week a few months early? We're not even nearly at the end of 2018 yet. But Osprey has a chance here to put on some Match of the Year candidates and really extend his lead beyond the point of no return. However, just because Osprey's in Best of the Super Juniors doesn't mean that he's guaranteed to do really well, because every other junior heavyweight wrestler in New Japan will be hungry to impress. My pick is Hiromu Takahashi from Los Ingobernables, of course, but also there's guys like Taiji Ishimori, the new Bullet Club member. There's guys like my boy again, Chris Sabin from the Motor City Machine Guns. They're all in the tournament, so I'm really excited to see who emerges from that with a boatload, a big boatload of Wrestlers of the Week pointeroos. Number 6, he came to play. That's the price you pay. Time for you to get down on your knees. He came to say goodbye. You need 2 people to sing that song. It's The Miz. We all know that The Miz is one of the most valuable WWE superstars right now. No one is as consistent as he. There's no other heel on the roster who turns in the same level of performance each and every time. Even a Backlash, a pay-per-view cursed by poor matches and poor booking, saw Miz rise to the top. You know, he was awesome. He had a very good opening match against Seth Rollins. He obviously lost the match, failed to win the Intercontinental Championship back, and it looks as though it might be a while before he actually can win that title that he's really made his own, but a while before he can win that back again, because he's of course on SmackDown, and that title is now on Monday Night Raw. Oh dear, Miz. Then on SmackDown, Miz had another match against Jeff Hardy, the United States champion, but it was a non-title match because it was a Money in the Bank qualifier. And again, this was a very good match, and Jeff Hardy, even though he's been one of the most exciting superstars throughout his career in WWE history, he's not renowned for great matches these days. He's more renowned for big spots and big moments and being beloved by the fans and all that sort of thing. However, Miz helped him to a wonderful match, and it really is a testament to just how good the Miz is right now. He won the match as well. He defeated Jeff Hardy to get into that Money in the Bank ladder match. Jeff hit the Swanton Bomb. Miz rolled him into a surprise pinning predicament, somehow won the match. And I want Miz to be Money in the Bank briefcase holder. I don't think he will be, but I want him to at least have a big role in that match as the big mean villain. I just think he's superb. So well done, The Miz. Welcome back to the list. Have a few points. There you go. Number 5, Sethy Roll. My boy, Seth Rollins. Seth is just, I said Miz was maybe the heel MVP of WWE right now. Seth Rollins is the babyface MVP without a shadow of a doubt. I don't mean MVP as in the ball, I don't mean him. Do you see my form there? I used to play basketball, whatever. Splash! I'm meant to be talking about wrestling, I'm so sorry. But yes, Seth Rollins had that wonderful match I talked about against The Miz at Backlash, and then it was all downhill from there, sadly, for that pay-per-view. But then he also came out on Raw, and in very exciting sort of news, established himself as the new John Cena in a way. You remember when John Cena held the US title and had the John Cena US title open challenge? I don't think that was the name of it. The John Cena US title open challenge. And basically guys like Sami Zayn and Cesaro and Neville will come out and have bloody brilliant matches with John Cena for that belt. Rollins has said he's going to do the same. He is now holding like Intercontinental Championship Open challenges. His first challenger was Mojo Rawley, and I actually really liked the match. I thought it was really good. When it was Mojo, I thought, oh, I'd rather it was someone more renowned for putting on excellent matches, someone like Zayn or someone like that. But instead it was Mojo, and I was impressed with Mojo too. I thought he had a really good match. Obviously the star was Rollins. And afterwards as well, after he'd beaten Mojo, he didn't sort of just pop up and go, yeah, I've won, I'm the best, suck my... No. Can I say that? I said it on this video. I sucked my dick. He said that, but he actually he actually sold the relief that he'd been tested by this unlikely opponent, and he was relieved to still have a firm grip on his championship. He was like, oh, that was a close one. So I really enjoyed that, Seth. Great job. He's easily entrenched now in the top 10. He might even be in the top 5. We'll take a look at that at the end when the league table flashes up. Next up, a man who's appeared on this list once before, and 7 points go to Ilia Draganov from WXW, the WXW Unified World Wrestling Champion. Yes, I had to check the name of that belt before I just spoketh it to you right there. Draganov had a great match defending his title against Volta last week in WXW. It was before the main event, which I mentioned in the honorable mentions, the Tennille Dashwood versus Tony Storm match. But Volta and Draganov put on, I think, probably a match of the year contender. I think so. It was really good. For those who aren't familiar with Draganov, he is a manic, terrifying, psychotic babyface. Everyone loves him. Apparently he used to be a heel, turned face, and everyone just loves him because he's a brilliant wrestler and just goes all out, and he's just a bit of a scary dude, actually. The story of this match was really clever. Basically, Volta has been one of the best wrestlers this year, both in kayfabe and in real life, because of his chops. He butters the hell out of people's chests with his chops, and it really has an effect on the match as well. It's not just for like a loud noise and a red mark. It actually weakens his opponents. Draganov saw this and went to work on the arms of Volta. Very clever strategy. Eventually, he did win, but the story of the match was better than the result, almost like the back and forth. It's about the journey, not the destination, guys. They exchanged finishes. They did loads of great stuff. So I have no qualms about including Draganov this high on the list. Well done. I hope I never meet you in real life. I'm bloody terrified of you, you creepy mother... Number 3, his opponent, Volta. What a guy. What a big, lovely, cuddly teddy bear. Maybe not, but Volta really did a great job in this match. Even though he lost and didn't win back the title that he so dearly covets, he sound like a dungeon master. He really sold the arms well. As I mentioned, Draganov was targeting both of Volta's arms. One arm's been targeted in his matches before, so he's had to switch to his left arm for big chops. But in this one, both arms were targeted, so at one stage, he even had to just kick at his opponent with his hands behind his back, like Liam Gallagher. It was really good stuff. So yes, as I say, even though he lost the match, I found Volta to be just a tiny bit more impressive one, just for his firm grasp of psychology. I believe he's a trainer actually at WXW, so it makes a lot of sense that he knows wrestling inside out. Well done, Big Daddy W. Never going to call him that again. Number 2, Kazuko Okada, the Rainmaker. That's not his theme tune, I just decided to sing that for no reason. Kazuko Okada had a match that Dave Meltzer gave 5.5 stars, which sent Twitter into a panic. They were like, how can you give 5 stars? You've broken your own rating system. I know whenever he gives a match more than 5 stars, everyone kind of loses their mind a little bit. However, it was a really, really good match. I will agree with him there. It was fantastic. Obviously, Okada was going for the defense record of the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, and his opponent, Tanahashi, they were both tied for defenses essentially. They both defended that belt the same number of times. I can't remember the exact number. I think it was about... I genuinely can't remember. But in defeating Tanahashi, Okada surpassed that record and again further established himself as the ace of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And then he was challenged by Kenny Omega to a 2 out of 3 falls, no time limit match at Dominion in June. I cannot wait for this match. This is going to be unreal. It could be match of the century, match of the millennium. It's going to be so good. If it's not good, I'm going to be crushed. But if anyone can put on a match that surpasses even a monstrous amount of hype, it's Kenny Omega and Kazuko Okada. Godspeed, lads. I know you can do it. I know you can do it. 9 points, by the way, Okada. Well done, mate. Get some more points. Get at the table. Good job. You better have a good match against Omega. I'm begging you. And number one, a man who's appeared on this table before, but he's never been number one. He's never been Wrestler of the Week. Hiroshi Tanahashi. I'm your biggest fan. I'll follow you until you love me. Tanahashi. I thought of that before when I was getting ready to do this video, and I genuinely thought they'll all love that. If I sing Lady Gaga's Paparazzi, a song which is probably about 8 years old now, everyone will go, Jack, that is genius. You should do more of that. And I couldn't regret it more. I couldn't regret it more. I've ruined this entire video, and I'm so sorry. Now, when I first started watching New Japan about 3 years ago now, was it? I was aware of Tanahashi. I knew he was the ace. I knew he was the Cena, the Hogan, the Bull Buchanan of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I knew that he was like meant to be a really good wrestler. And then gradually I learned over the next few years that he was a fantastic wrestler. I saw enough excellent matches that he put on, but I never related to him. I never had that sort of connection you have when you know that a wrestler's fantastic. I just felt like I was watching I felt like I was watching an Oscar-winning movie, and I could tell it was really good, but it wasn't personally for me, so I enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was as good as everyone else did. This match changed my opinion on Tanahashi. This was the first time I've watched Tanahashi and got it. I got it. I understood why he's so revered. Basically, even though he lost this match, Tanahashi, I've rarely seen support. I don't think I've seen support for one wrestler like this before in New Japan. I've seen it in WWE before, but I don't think I've seen it in New Japan. Maybe when Naito was at his peak recently. But Tanahashi, the crowd got behind him in a way like you rarely see in wrestling. They were very vocally behind him. There's a bit of a stereotype that Japanese wrestling crowds are a little bit more subdued than Western audiences, but you couldn't tell that that stereotype exists if you watch this match. They were loud and firmly in favor of Tanahashi. He was a master of just soaking it all in, absorbing all the crowd's energy, unloading it on his opponent. And even though he lost in the end, he still put on one hell of a... needless to say, he put in one hell of a performance. I always knew he was a great wrestler. I always knew he was great at doing the moves and stuff. I just never got why he clicked so much with the fans. Now I get it. Now I do definitely understand. And I wanted to make Okada Wrestler of the Week because I don't think he's been Wrestler of the Week yet, but I couldn't give him it because Tanahashi impressed me just that little bit more. And I'm now excited to see the next Tanahashi match, which I'm not usually. I'm usually like, oh, a Tanahashi match, that's nice. Now I'm like, yes, I cannot wait to see what Tanahashi does next. So well done, Tanahashi, biggest fan, I'll follow your Wrestler of the Week now, Tanahashi. 10 points. Congratulations. Now, before we look at the league table, I have a confession to make. I was doing the league table this morning and updating it and stuff, and I realised horribly that the numbers didn't add up. I'd forgotten to add a week. So I redid the whole league table again. It's been a very boring morning. And I realised that the week that I'd forgotten to include into the overall league table was the week, I've forgotten the number of the week, but it was the week when Matt Jackson was Wrestler of the Week. It was the week of the Golden Lovers versus the Young Bucks match. So I've plugged all those points back in. I've made sure that the list is firmly correct now. I panicked horribly. And it doesn't have too much of a bearing on the list. The only major change is that Matt Riddle's gone a bit higher and that Osprey's extended his lead a tiny bit, by about 4 points more than he would have anyway. It's certainly not a big deal, but I just panicked so much. So I just thought I'd tell you that. And maybe, yeah, I think if enough of you ask me on Twitter, it might be time to release the full table, like bit by bit, just so you can see the whole lay of the land. So I might do that. But yeah, let's take a look at the correct league table and how it stands now. So yes, if we take a look at the league table, Osprey has extended his lead over Zack Sabre Jr. and the rest of the chasing pack. It's been a terrible week for Andrade, Cien Almas, Okada, Rollins and Volta have all leapfrogged him into 5th, 6th and 7th respectively. Come on, Almas, have a word with yourself, mate. Tanahashi, after his 10 points, has leapt into the top 10 as well. But as I mentioned beforehand, with the best of the Super Juniors coming up, you never know what's going to happen. And my money is on Hiromu Takahashi really overtaking some people and getting into the higher reaches of this lovely table. So that's all for this week on Wrestlers of the Week. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. You can follow me on Twitter at JackTheJobber. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic. Check out our Patreon as well. Don't forget patreon.com/Cultaholic. And one further thing never to forget, obviously, is to join us.